Welcome, weary travelers, to a journey not through vibrant forests or bustling cities, but through the somber reflections of a world you think you know. Tonight, we delve into the plane of shadow, known more commonly as the Shadowfell, a desolate echo, a melancholic twin, woven from the very fabric of despair and loss. Prepare yourselves, for its embrace is chilling, its silence profound, and its beauty, if it can be called that, is found only in the deepest shades of gray. Imagine, if you will, standing at the edge of a deep, still pool at twilight. The world around you is fading, and in the dark water, a perfect yet distorted reflection shimmers back. The trees are twisted, their leaves like weeping shadows. The vibrant sky is a bruised purple, and the familiar sounds of life are swallowed by an eerie hush. This is but a whisper of the Shadowfell's truth. It is not merely a dark realm, but a negative impression, a cosmic photographic plate capturing the raw essence of everything that is, but stripping it of color, warmth, and hope. It is a plane of mirrors, where every mountain, every river, every structure of the material plane finds its twisted, desaturated counterpart. But these are not mere copies. They are echoes imbued with a different essence, a profound melancholy that permeates every inch of its desolate landscape. The Shadowfell exists in a strange, parasitic dance with the material plane. Every mountain range, every sprawling ocean, every bustling metropolis has its doppelganger in this dim mirror. Yet, these reflections are never quite right. A vibrant forest might appear as a skeletal grove, its trees gnarled and devoid of leaves, their branches reaching like desperate claws towards a light that never comes, their roots clawing at barren soil. A bustling city could be represented by a ghost town, its buildings crumbling into dust, their windows like vacant eyesores staring into the perpetual gloom, inhabited only by restless spirits and the chill of forgotten dreams. Even the very air itself seems heavy with sorrow, each breath a reminder of what once was and what now is not. The familiar becomes alien, the comforting becomes unnerving, all filtered through a lens of profound sadness. The origins of the Shadowfell are shrouded in a mist as thick and cold as the plane itself, debated by planar scholars and whispered by those who have dared to glimpse its depths. Some speak of it as a primordial echo, a fundamental aspect of the multiverse that sprung forth alongside the material plane, its antithetical twin born from the very act of creation. In this view, for every spark of light, there must be a corresponding shadow. For every vibrant life, an equal and opposite decay. It is the cosmic balance, not of good and evil, but of presence and absence, of substance and its ethereal counterpart. This theory suggests the Shadowfell is as ancient and fundamental as existence itself, an inherent component of the multiverse's grand design, predating even the gods themselves. Other theories suggest a more violent, traumatic birth. Perhaps it was a planar wound, a rift torn in the fabric of reality during a time of great magical catastrophe or an unimaginable cosmic cataclysm. Imagine the raw magical energies, unleashed and uncontrolled, tearing at the very weave of existence, leaving behind a permanent tear, a perpetual bleed of negative energy and despair. The remnants of such an event could have congealed into this realm of perpetual twilight, a gaping scar on the face of creation that never truly healed. There are whispers of an ancient war, fought by gods or titans, whose despair and death throes bled into the cosmos, coalescing into the Shadowfell as a permanent monument to their suffering, an eternal echo of their final, cataclysmic conflict. This theory paints the Shadowfell not as a natural twin, but as a byproduct of immense, destructive power. A more recent, and perhaps more chilling, theory posits a connection to the weave itself, the arcane tapestry that binds magic in the multiverse. It is said that when powerful magic is misused, or when the very fabric of reality is stretched and twisted beyond its natural limits, it leaves behind an energetic residue. If enough negative emotion, despair, and loss accumulate, the grief of countless deaths, the sorrow of forgotten dreams, the crushing weight of unanswered prayers, they could have congealed within the weave, forming a new reality, one perpetually starved of light and warmth. This theory suggests a terrifying possibility, that the Shadowfell is not a fixed entity, but one that subtly grows and expands, insidious and slow, fed by the collective sorrow of all sentient life across the plains. Every tear shed, every dream shattered, every hope extinguished, contributes in some minute way to the expansion of this realm of gloom. Regardless of its genesis, the fundamental characteristics of the Shadowfell are unmistakable and deeply unsettling, impressing themselves upon every fiber of a visitor's being. There is, most strikingly, the pervasive lack of color, a monochrome existence where everything is rendered in shades of gray, black, and pallid white. Even the most vibrant hues from the material plane are leached away, reduced to their mournful counterparts. A crimson cloak might appear as a faded charcoal, a verdant forest, a ghostly collection of silhouettes. The effect is profoundly disorienting, stripping away the visual cues that help us interpret our world and replacing them with a uniform bleakness. This absence of color serves as a constant, subtle assault on the senses, a visual manifestation of the plane's emotional vacuum. Then there is the silence. Not a peaceful, tranquil silence, where one can find solace and contemplation, but an oppressive, heavy stillness that presses down on the soul, muffling even the sound of your own heartbeat. Sounds are distorted. Echoes seem to die prematurely, or are simply swallowed whole by the pervasive gloom. Even the wind, when it blows, carries no whispers of life, no rustle of leaves, only the hollow sigh of desolation, like the last breath of a dying world. This profound quiet is broken only by the occasional, unnatural creak of a decaying structure, the faint, chitinous scrape of unseen things in the darkness, or the distant, mournful wail of a lost spirit, a sound that chills to the bone and speaks of eternal regret. It is a silence that breeds introspection, but often of the darkest kind, forcing you to confront your own thoughts, your own fears, amplified by the plane's melancholic embrace until they become overwhelming. Light, or rather the lack thereof, is another defining feature. The Shadowfell is perpetually dim, illuminated only by a ghostly, indirect glow that seems to emanate from nowhere and everywhere at once, a diffuse, ambient luminescence that provides little comfort. There is no sun, no moon, no stars in its sky, only an endless, overcast twilight that never truly brightens, never offering the warmth of dawn or the clarity of noon. Even magical light sources seem muted, their brilliance struggling against the innate gloom, often casting longer, darker, more menacing shadows than they would in the material plane. A torch might seem to shrink, its flame a desperate, flickering beacon against an overwhelming darkness. This constant dimness drains the very spirit, fostering a sense of perpetual twilight, a world trapped in an endless, mournful dusk where true illumination is an alien concept. The very air of the Shadowfell feels different, cold, stale, and heavy, thick with the scent of dust, decay, and the metallic tang of old blood. It clings to you, seeping into your clothes and skin, a constant reminder of the plane's oppressive nature. Breathing feels like an effort, as if the air itself is reluctant to fill your lungs. The geography of the Shadowfell is also profoundly altered, a mutable, treacherous landscape that defies normal understanding. Familiar landmarks from the material plane are present, but they are twisted, exaggerated, and often corrupted, rendered in a nightmarish parody of their original forms. A majestic mountain range might become a series of jagged, skeletal peaks, their summits forever shrouded in eternal mist, their crags like the teeth of some colossal slumbering beast. A calm river could be a sluggish, black current, its waters thick with despair and refuse, mirroring the Styx in its bleakness. Distances are mutable and unreliable. A journey that would take hours in the material plane might take days or even weeks in the Shadowfell, as paths twist and turn unexpectedly, and landmarks shift and vanish, swallowed by creeping shadow or simply ceasing to exist as you turn your back. The very concept of direction seems to lose its meaning, adding to the pervasive sense of being lost, alone, and utterly at the mercy of the plane's whims. Compasses spin wildly, celestial navigation is impossible, and even the most seasoned explorers find themselves disoriented by the shifting, dreamlike landscape. But perhaps the most insidious characteristic of the Shadowfell is its draining effect on living beings. Prolonged exposure to its oppressive aura saps vitality, energy, and, most cruelly, hope. Colors seem to fade from your skin, your breath grows shallow, and the vibrant spark of life within you slowly diminishes, as if the plane itself is consuming your very essence. This is not merely a physical toll, though physical exhaustion and a weakening of the will are common symptoms. It is a profound spiritual and emotional one. Hope becomes a distant memory, a fragile butterfly crushed by the weight of the gloom. Joy becomes an alien concept, a fleeting dream that fades upon waking. Despair becomes a constant companion, its tendrils wrapping around your heart, whispering insidious thoughts of futility, apathy, and resignation. The plane itself seems to feed on positive emotions, leaving behind only the cold ashes of what once was, gradually transforming living beings into husks of their former selves, susceptible to the plane's dark influence, perhaps even joining the ranks of its shadowy inhabitants. Over the millennia, various cultures and scholars have given the Shadowfell many names, each reflecting their understanding and fear of this bleak realm. To some, it is simply the plane of shadow, a logical antithesis to the material plane. Others call it the plane of gloom, a direct nod to its pervasive atmosphere of sorrow. Necromancers and those who traffic with death might refer to it as the Vale of Whispers or the Land of the Lost Souls, recognizing its close connection to undeath and the spirits of the departed, drawn to its lingering essence of death. The Shatter Kai, its most iconic inhabitants, simply call it the Shadow, a stark and unadorned acknowledgement of their home, devoid of any poetic flourish. These names, though varied, all point to the same truth. The Shadowfell is a realm of profound sorrow, a place where the echoes of life are twisted into grotesque mockeries, and where hope struggles to survive. Its very existence is a testament to the darker aspects of the cosmos, a chilling reminder that for every light there is a shadow, and for every life an eventual decay. It is a place that calls out to the melancholic heart, promising solace in despair, and a final, quiet resting place for those weary of the world's endless striving. As we journey deeper into this desolate reflection, our exploration will lead us to encounter the unique, often terrifying creatures born of its gloom, beings that embody the plane's sorrow and malevolence. We will uncover the powerful entities that rule its perpetual twilight, the the Dark Lords and enigmatic figures who carve out dominions within its shadows. And we will explore the very real dangers that await those who dare to tread its mournful paths, the insidious ways it seeks to claim both body and soul. But first, let us consider the profound impact this plane has on those unfortunate enough to find themselves within its grasp, and the twisted reflections of the living world that manifest within its depths, echoes of despair. Having ventured through the conceptual mists of the Shadowfell's nature and origins, we now step further into its chilling embrace to witness the unsettling phenomenon of its reflections. For this is a plane of echoes, where the familiar is twisted into the grotesque, and the vibrant life of the material plane is mirrored in pallid, often horrifying forms. These are the Shadowfell manifestations, a fundamental aspect of its existence that reveals the true, insidious nature of this realm. Imagine a grand, ancient fortress from your world, its stone walls standing proud against the sun, echoing with the laughter of guards and the clang of steel. In the Shadowfell, that same fortress exists, but it is a silent, crumbling ruin. Its walls are pocked and stained, weeping a dark, viscous liquid that might be oil or ancient blood. The banners are tattered, resembling funeral shrouds, and the laughter is replaced by the hollow sighs of the wind through broken windows, or perhaps the faint, mournful cries of long-dead inhabitants. Every tree becomes a skeletal sentinel, every mountain a jagged, tombstone-like peak, every river a sluggish, inky current. The reflection is never perfect. It is always a caricature, a macabre parody that highlights decay, loss, and suffering. These echoes aren't just visual. They often carry a lingering emotional resonance from their material plane counterparts, but filtered through the Shadowfell's melancholic lens, transforming joy into despair, triumph into tragedy. Even living creatures can find their reflection here, though rarely are they exact copies. A thriving herd of deer in the material plane might be mirrored by gaunt, skeletal stags with glowing eyes, known as shadow steeds, or by spectral herds that drift through the mists. Humans, elves, dwarves, any sentient race can find their shadowy counterparts, beings often twisted by the plane's despair into something unrecognizable, or drawn there by fate to be forever bound to its gloom. It is this echoing quality that makes the Shadowfell so uniquely disturbing. It plays on familiarity, warping it just enough to induce a constant sense of unease, a gnawing dread that nothing is quite as it should be. This inherent echoing nature gives rise to the Shadowfell's unique and often terrifying inhabitants. These are not merely monsters in the traditional sense, but often the very embodiment of the plane's essence: despair, hunger, and forgotten sorrow. Among the most iconic are the Shadarkai, the plane's native sentient humanoids. Once elves, or perhaps a distinct human offshoot, they were drawn into the Shadowfell by ancient, forgotten pacts, or perhaps simply by the sheer, overwhelming power of the plane. The Shadarkai are creatures of profound melancholy, their skin a pallid gray, their eyes dark and distant. They adorn themselves with dark, often spiky, clothing and elaborate piercings, rituals that they believe help them feel something in a plane that otherwise numbs the senses. They are fiercely loyal to the enigmatic Raven Queen, serving as her agents and guardians, and rarely display emotion beyond a deep-seated fatalism. Their movements are often described as jerky, almost marionette-like, a stark contrast to the fluid grace of their elven kin. They navigate the gloom with an innate understanding, seeking out artifacts or souls that interest their dark mistress. Then there are the literal shadows, insidious, incorporeal undead, born from lingering negative emotions and the oppressive aura of the plane itself. These are not just magical effects, but sentient, predatory beings that drain strength and vitality with a touch, seeking to extinguish the light within their victims. They are the absence of light made manifest, a chilling reminder of what remains when life has fled. They drift through the gloom, drawn to pockets of residual emotion, waiting to snuff out any remaining spark. More potent and tragic are the specters and wraiths. Specters are the incorporeal remnants of those who died with great regret, injustice, or unfulfilled purpose, often bound to a specific location where their life ended tragically. They are driven by an overwhelming emptiness, a desire to extinguish the life and happiness they no longer possess. Wraiths are even more terrifying, born from powerful, evil beings who died consumed by hatred or malice. They are voids of negative energy, capable of corrupting the very air around them, feeding on life force and turning living creatures into new shadows, serving only to perpetuate their own emptiness. These are not just creatures, but living monuments to loss, eternally bound to their pasts within the Shadowfell. Perhaps the most heart-wrenching inhabitants are the sorrowsworn. These are not undead, but elemental manifestations of grief and suffering. Each type embodies a specific form of anguish. The anguished are twisted figures draped in tattered cloth, driven by unendurable pain. The lonely are gaunt, silent beings whose very presence isolates and hollows out those nearby. The lost are bewildered entities eternally searching for something they can never find. They are the plane's living nightmares, formed from the collective misery that saturates the Shadowfell, drawn to those who express strong negative emotions, perhaps to absorb them, perhaps to inflict them. Encountering a sorrowsworn is not just a fight for survival, but a confrontation with the raw, unfiltered agony of the multiverse. The influence of the Shadowfell on living creatures is perhaps its most insidious and chilling aspect. Prolonged exposure begins subtly, often mistaken for mere melancholy or exhaustion. Visitors might find their senses dulling, colors appearing faded, sounds muffled. Sleep offers little rest, filled with unsettling gray dreams. As time wears on, the emotional toll becomes profound. Hope begins to drain away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of apathy, a profound indifference to life itself. Joys become flat, sorrows deepen into despair, and the vibrant spark of personality begins to dim. Creativity withers, ambition fades, and even the will to survive can be eroded. Physically, the effects are equally devastating. The body grows gaunt, skin takes on a grayish pallor, and the very vitality seems to drain away, as if the plane itself is feeding on the life force. Those who succumb completely to the Shadowfell's influence may undergo a horrifying transformation, slowly turning into Shadar-kai, or worse, into true shadow creatures, specters, wraiths, or even mundane shadows, forever bound to the plane's oppressive gloom. Their former lives, their names, their loves are forgotten, leaving behind only an echoing void where a living soul once resided. Many adventurers who foolishly linger too long in the Shadowfell return as broken shells, forever haunted by its oppressive despair, their connection to the vibrant material plane irrevocably frayed. Among the desolate landscapes of the Shadowfell, one particular locale stands out as a nexus of strange life and unsettling commerce: Gloomrot, the city of midnight towers. Unlike the crumbling ruins that characterize most Shadowfell reflections, Gloomrot is a functioning, if deeply unnerving, city. Its buildings are crafted from dark, glassy obsidian or polished black stone, rising into spires that pierce the perpetual twilight. Its streets are lit by strange, guttering shadow lamps that cast more gloom than light, and its inhabitants move with a hushed, purposeful silence. Gloomrot is a hub for dark trade, a place where secrets are bought and sold, where artifacts of forgotten empires are bartered, and where the desperate come to seek answers or escape the relentless grasp of the Shadowfell's pervasive sorrow. Its primary inhabitants are Shadar Kai, but also Shadowfae, corrupted elementals, and a smattering of desperate mortals drawn by its morbid allure. Gloomrot exists in a strange, liminal state, often described as part of the Grey, a term used to encompass the more civilized, if grim, regions of the Shadowfell that possess a semblance of order amidst the chaos of despair. Here, one might find shadowy markets selling dreams, echoes of memories, or the fleeting vitality of other beings. The city operates on its own set of grim laws, overseen by shadowy figures whose motives are as opaque as the plane itself. While it offers a degree of safety from the plane's more feral dangers, Gloomrot itself is a place of profound moral ambiguity, where survival often comes at the cost of one's soul, metaphorically and sometimes literally. It is also within the nebulous expanse of the Shadowfell that we find the chilling origins and occasional manifestations of the domains of dread, the infamous pocket dimensions of Ravenloft. While Ravenloft itself is a distinct demiplane, many of its dread lords and their cursed realms are believed to have originated from, or drawn heavily upon, the raw despair and pervasive gloom of the Shadowfell. Sometimes a particularly potent nexus of sorrow or an act of profound evil within the Shadowfell can fester and swell, tearing away from the main body of the plane to form a new self-contained domain of dread, ruled by a powerful, tormented Dark Lord. The Raven Queen herself is said to sometimes manipulate these manifestations, guiding lost souls towards their inevitable, horrific fates within these cursed lands. The Shadowfell, then, acts as a breeding ground, a primal soup from which the very essence of dread can coalesce and find its form, trapping victims in eternal nightmares of their own making. The Shadowfell is not just a dark reflection. It is an active, insidious force that seeks to diminish, corrupt, and ultimately claim all that enters its domain. Its echoes are not benign copies, but twisted mirrors designed to disorient and drain, slowly stripping away the life and hope from any who linger too long. To walk its desolate paths is to invite the slow erosion of your very being, until all that remains is a shadowy shell, another silent testament to the plane of gloom's insatiable hunger for despair. Next, we shall delve deeper into the enigmatic figures who hold sway over these realms of shadow, the powerful entities who command its inhabitants and manipulate the destinies of souls. We will speak of the Raven Queen, her mysterious court, and others who wield the raw power of gloom, the Lords of Shadow. Having surveyed the eerie reflections and the desperate inhabitants born of the Shadowfell's pervasive gloom, we now turn our attention to the beings who truly command its silence and sorrow. These are the Lords of Shadow, entities of immense power and enigmatic purpose, whose influence stretches across the desolate landscape, shaping the destinies of souls and wielding the very essence of despair. To understand the Shadowfell fully, one must understand those who sit upon its thrones of twilight. Foremost among these, and perhaps the most iconic figure associated with the Shadowfell, is the Raven Queen. Her very name evokes a sense of ancient power and inscrutable mystery. She is not a deity in the traditional sense, at least not in the same vein as the gods of the material plane, but rather a being of immense cosmic authority over fate, memory, and the passage of souls. Her domain is the inevitable end, the forgotten past, and the profound sorrow that accompanies all finalities. The Raven Queen's origins are shrouded in myth and conflicting legends, as befits a being of such antiquity and power. Some tales speak of her as once being a powerful elven queen, a mortal sorceress of unparalleled might who, consumed by ambition, or perhaps by a profound tragedy, sought to ascend to godhood. In this pursuit, she inadvertently shattered the previous elven god of death and fate, Neril, or perhaps another forgotten deity, absorbing his essence, and inadvertently creating or becoming inextricably linked to the Shadowfell itself. Other legends claim she was born directly from the plane's primordial despair, a personification of the inevitable end of all things. Regardless of her true beginning, her rise coincided with the Shadowfell's prominence, suggesting a deep, intrinsic connection. Her realm within the Shadowfell is often referred to as the Fortress of Memories or the Palace of Unseen Stars, though its true appearance is said to be ever-shifting and deeply personal to those who perceive it. It is a place of absolute stillness, populated by silent Shadowfell servants and echoes of forgotten souls. Here, she collects memories and fragments of lore, especially those that are dying or neglected, preventing them from fading entirely into nothingness. She is a meticulous archivist of all that is lost and forgotten, a guardian against oblivion. The Raven Queen herself is rarely seen, preferring to communicate through her chosen emissaries or through cryptic visions. When she does manifest, it is often as a tall, slender figure cloaked in feathers and shadow, her face hidden behind a veil or a mask, sometimes described as having eyes that gleam like distant stars or shattered fragments of ice. She carries no outward warmth, no overt malice, only a profound, almost chilling neutrality. Her voice is said to be like the rustling of dry leaves or the whisper of forgotten names. She does not seek to inspire devotion or worship in the traditional sense, but rather commands a solemn respect and an understanding of her inescapable decree. Her primary purpose is the collection of memories and the enforcement of fate. She despises those who would seek to defy death, to escape their predestined end, or to cling to undeath. Leashes, vampires, and other abominations of necromancy are her particular enemies, for they represent a perversion of the natural cycle she oversees. Her Shadowfell servants are her hands and eyes across the multiverse, sent to reclaim souls that have strayed from their appointed path, or to gather significant memories before they are lost to the sands of time. While she does not directly intervene in mortal affairs, her influence is felt in the subtle nudges of fate, the sudden appearance of a raven at a critical moment, or the inexplicable longing for a forgotten past. Beyond the Raven Queen, the Shadowfell is also home to other powerful entities, though their dominion is often more localized, or their influence less universally acknowledged. There are ancient, forgotten Archfey of Gloom, beings of immense power from the Feywild who were twisted and corrupted by the Shadowfell's touch, or perhaps found its melancholic beauty more appealing than the vibrant chaos of their native plane. These beings might preside over vast haunted forests of skeletal trees, or command legions of sorrowsworn, their whims as unpredictable and dangerous as any Fey, but imbued with a profound, chilling despair. They might offer dark bargains to mortals, granting power in exchange for happiness, memories, or the very light within their souls. Then there are the shadow demons, not fiends in the traditional sense from the abyss or nine hells, but rather demonic entities born directly from the Shadowfell's darkest energies. These are creatures of pure malevolence, embodying the plane's capacity for destruction and torment. They are often less interested in grand schemes of conquest and more focused on localized acts of suffering and the amplification of despair. Shadow demons might manifest as grotesque, winged horrors, or as subtle, parasitic influences that whisper dark thoughts into the minds of mortals, driving them to madness or self-destruction. Their power is often tied to the level of fear and misery they can inflict. The Shadowfell also serves as a potent refuge and a source of immense power for those who traffic in death and undeath, the leashes, and master necromancers. While many necromancers ply their trade on the material plane, the Shadowfell offers an unparalleled environment for their dark arts. Its pervasive negative energy is a constant source of power, making the creation and command of undead far easier and more potent. Ambitious necromancers often seek out ancient ruins or forgotten catacombs within the Shadowfell to establish their lairs, knowing that the plane itself will aid their dark rituals. Here, they can conduct their macabre experiments unmolested, their armies of the walking dead drawing directly from the very essence of the plane. Lachaise, those terrifying arcanists who have cheated death by binding their souls to a phylactery, find the Shadowfell to be a particularly advantageous domain. Its inherent resistance to life and its focus on death and decay makes it a natural home for such abominations. Many liches choose to establish their fortresses in the deepest, most desolate parts of the Shadowfell, where the gloom protects them from the prying eyes of the living, and where their dark magic is amplified by the plane's oppressive aura. They might command legions of spectral warriors, animated by the very shadows of the plane, or conduct vile research into the nature of souls, hoping to unlock even greater secrets of undeath. The Raven Queen tolerates their presence, only so long as they do not directly interfere with her domain over the finality of death. But should a lich overstep, they will quickly find themselves hunted by her silent, relentless Shadarkai. The Shadowfell's connection to death extends beyond merely housing those who manipulate it. It plays a significant, if often unacknowledged, role in the journey of souls. While most souls pass to the outer planes destined for their deity's domain, or to the fugue plane for judgment, some do not. Souls that are lost, those that die with profound regret or unfinished business, those who cling too tightly to their mortal lives, or those whose deaths were exceptionally violent or traumatic, can sometimes find themselves snared by the Shadowfell's pull. They might linger as faint echoes, unseen whispers, or even manifest as spectral phenomena, forever bound to the place of their demise or to a significant object from their life, unable to find true rest. These are the potential seeds for new specters and wraiths, tragic figures whose eternal torment feeds the plane's melancholic heart. This connection makes the Shadowfell a dangerous hunting ground for spirit eaters and soul traders, beings who prey on the lost and the vulnerable. Some dark rituals performed on the material plane can also inadvertently or deliberately divert souls to the Shadowfell, trapping them in its oppressive embrace. It is a grim repository for those who cannot or will not move on, a chilling purgatory where memories fade and hope is a forgotten word. The Raven Queen, in her inscrutable way, is the final arbiter of these lost souls, deciding which are to be collected, which are to be released, and which are to remain trapped in the endless twilight. The Lords of Shadow, whether they be the ancient, enigmatic Raven Queen, the twisted Archfey, or the insidious shadow demons and powerful liches, all contribute to the pervasive atmosphere of dread and control that defines this plane. They are the puppet masters of despair, their influence weaving through the very fabric of the Shadowfell, ensuring its eternal gloom persists, and that all who enter are confronted with the bleakest reflections of existence. Their power is born of and sustained by the plane itself, making them formidable adversaries and equally formidable allies, though their alliances are always fragile and fraught with unseen perils. As we move deeper, we must now turn our attention to the physical landscape of this mournful realm. We will explore its most notable locations, its treacherous planar boundaries, and the myriad hazards that await the unwary traveler within its perpetual twilight. Geography of Despair. We have journeyed through the conceptual depths of the Shadowfell, learned of its chilling reflections, and met the powerful, enigmatic beings who command its pervasive gloom. Now, our exploration shifts from the abstract to the tangible, if such a word can truly apply to this ever-shifting realm. We turn our gaze to the very landscape itself, the geography of despair, a desolate, treacherous expanse where every landmark tells a tale of sorrow and every shadow conceals a new peril. Unlike the varied and vibrant landscapes of the material plane, the Shadowfell's geography is defined by its pervasive desolation and unsettling mimicry. For every mountain, forest, or city on the prime world, there exists a grim counterpart here, twisted and rendered in hues of gray and black. A majestic mountain range might become the spine of night, a jagged chain of perpetually mist-shrouded peaks that pierce the dim sky like ancient, broken teeth. Their slopes are barren, devoid of all but the most tenacious, light-starved fungi, and the wind that howls through their passes carries the mournful cries of lost souls. Climbing them is a soul-crushing endeavor, as the very stone seems to absorb warmth and hope. Forests are transformed into skeletal groves or the wailing woods, where trees stand gnarled and leafless, their branches like grasping claws, their roots intertwined with forgotten graves. The ground beneath is often soft, with centuries of accumulated decay, silent and unnerving. In some regions, like the legendary flesh forests, even the vegetation takes on a disturbing, almost living quality, resembling calcified organs or fibrous veins that writhe subtly in the absence of wind, feeding on the despair of those who traverse them. Perhaps one of the most iconic and chilling locales is the sunken city of the Marrow, the Shadowfell's reflection of a great sunken city from a forgotten age. What might have been a coral reef city or an ancient port lies here as a sprawling ruin submerged beneath a vast, stagnant, inky black lake known as the Sea of Sorrow. The waters are impossibly cold and still, reflecting nothing but the dim twilight above. Submerged structures, once magnificent, now appear as spectral outlines, their grand arches and towers choked with gray silt and inhabited by bloated, shadow-wrought versions of aquatic creatures. It is said that the spirits of those who drowned in the material plane counterpart are drawn here, forever trapped in its chilling depths, their silent agony adding to the lake's overwhelming sorrow. Explorers brave enough to dive into the Marrow often report a profound sense of claustrophobia and the feeling of countless unseen eyes watching from the depths. Another terrifying landmark is the ossuary of the Black Earth. If the material plane has great plains and vast grasslands, the Shadowfell has this. It is an endless, desolate plain composed entirely of powdered bone and ash, stretching further than the eye can see under the perpetual gloom. Here, the air itself tastes of death and decay. The landscape is dotted with immense, towering structures sculpted from the bones of unknown colossal beasts, or perhaps the petrified remains of forgotten planar denizens. These ossuaries serve as monuments to universal mortality, silent testaments to the countless lives that have ended across the multiverse. Foul winds whip across the plain, stirring the bone dust into miniature whirlwinds that seem to take on ephemeral, skeletal forms. Creatures that inhabit this area are often grotesque carrion feeders or powerful undead, drawn by the raw essence of death that permeates the very ground. For those who seek to escape, or who are endlessly hunted, there lies the endless maze. This is a terrifying reflection of any complex labyrinth or underground network from the material plane, amplified to cosmic proportions. Its walls are often composed of jagged, black rock, or shifting shadows that defy the laws of physics. Passages twist back upon themselves, doorways lead to different points each time they are traversed, and entire sections of the maze can reconfigure themselves without warning. The maze preys on the mind, inducing paranoia and madness in those trapped within, as the constant struggle against disorientation slowly grinds away sanity. It is a favored hunting ground for powerful shadow creatures who delight in tormenting their lost prey, and it is said that some beings have wandered its corridors for centuries, their forms fading into insubstantial echoes. The planar boundaries of the Shadowfell are a fascinating and terrifying subject. It is considered a paraplane or echo-plane to the material plane, meaning it occupies the same conceptual space, but on a different frequency. This allows for various forms of planar travel. One can physically walk into the Shadowfell from the material plane in certain places, often locations steeped in death, sorrow, or profound shadow. Ancient battlefields, forgotten graveyards, haunted ruins, or places where great tragedies occurred. These are called shadow crossings, or thin places, where the veil between the planes is naturally attenuated. Such crossings can be subtle, merely a sudden drop in temperature and light, or dramatic, with the landscape twisting and distorting before one's very eyes. Additionally, the ethereal plane, the ghostly realm that overlays the material plane, also touches the Shadowfell in certain areas, allowing for ethereal travel between them, though the ethereal plane itself becomes darker and more desolate near the Shadowfell's border. The negative energy plane, the source of all undeath, has a strong, often horrifying, connection to the Shadowfell. Pockets of raw negative energy can bleed directly into the Shadowfell, creating zones of extreme desiccation and undeath, and providing a potent wellspring for necromancy. Conversely, the Feywild, the vibrant realm of Fey and primal magic, is considered the Shadowfell's antithesis. While the material plane sits between these two extremes, the Shadowfell's connection to the Feywild is usually one of twisted opposition. A beautiful fairy ring in the Feywild might have a reflection in the Shadowfell as a circle of bone-white toadstools where desperate rituals are performed. Beyond the specific landmarks, the Shadowfell is riddled with pervasive hazards and environmental effects that constantly threaten any living being who dares to traverse its depths. The most common is the Shadowfell despair, the constant draining effect on hope and vitality we've discussed. This can manifest as an overwhelming sense of apathy, a loss of desire to eat or sleep, and a gradual reduction in physical vigor and mental acuity. Prolonged exposure can lead to the slow, insidious transformation into a shadow-wrought being, a faded reflection of your former self, eventually becoming bound to the plane forever. There are also physical dangers. Shadowpox are regions where the gloom is so thick and concentrated that it literally drains light, warmth, and life. Entering a shadowpox is like stepping into a void. Torches might sputter and die, spells of light are suppressed, and the very air feels like it is trying to crush you. Prolonged immersion can quickly lead to exhaustion, despair, and even death, as your life force is simply absorbed by the profound darkness. Gravity can become unreliable in certain warped areas, leading to sudden shifts or pockets of anti-gravity, where adventurers might float helplessly into the oppressive sky, only to eventually fall back to a desolate landscape below. The temperature is uniformly cold, a bone-chilling dampness that seeps into your very core, making exposure a constant threat. Illusions are common, born from the plane's ability to manipulate perceptions and amplify fears, often manifesting as phantom figures or whispers designed to disorient and lead travelers astray. Traveling within the Shadowfell is therefore a perilous undertaking that demands extreme caution and adaptability. Traditional methods of navigation often fail. Compasses spin wildly, stars are non-existent, and even the sun's apparent path is unreliable. Travelers often rely on esoteric methods, following the faint echoes of material plane landmarks, tracking the movements of native Shadowfell creatures who seem to possess an innate sense of direction. or using powerful magical divinations. Maps, if they exist, are often wildly inaccurate, reflecting the mutable nature of the plane itself. Movement is often slow and arduous. The terrain is frequently broken, treacherous, or composed of shifting, unstable materials. The pervasive gloom reduces visibility, making ambushes by predatory shadow creatures a constant threat. Rest is difficult to come by, as the plane actively resists the rejuvenation of living beings. Any sleep is often troubled by nightmares and the gnawing despair of the Shadowfell itself. Finding safe havens is paramount. Whether they are fortified outposts of desperate survivors, temporary magical wards, or the rare, unnerving pockets of relative calm. The Shadowfell, in its very geography, is a testament to suffering and oblivion. It is a plane designed to wear down the living, to drain their hope and vitality, and to slowly absorb them into its pervasive gloom. Its landscapes are not merely backdrops for adventure. They are active participants in the struggle for survival. Each stone, each shadow, each silent gust of wind conspiring to extinguish the light within those who dare to trespass. It is a realm of profound, desolate beauty, if one can appreciate the artistry of despair, and a chilling reminder of the fragility of hope. Our journey through the Shadowfell now brings us to its ultimate questions. Why would anyone venture into such a place? What secrets does it hold, and what are the true costs of seeking them? We will now consider the quests, the dangers, and the profound challenges of seeking and escaping the shadow. Seeking and escaping the shadow. We have journeyed through the chilling reflections and the oppressive landscapes of the Shadowfell, faced its enigmatic rulers, and met its sorrow-bound inhabitants. Now, as our exploration draws to a close, we confront the ultimate question: why would any living soul willingly venture into such a place? What profound desires or desperate necessities could compel one to tread its desolate paths, and what are the true costs of seeking and escaping the shadow? Despite its pervasive gloom and myriad dangers, the Shadowfell is not entirely devoid of purpose for those of the material plane. Indeed, it often holds secrets, relics, and even answers that can be found nowhere else. One primary motivation for adventurers to brave its depths is the pursuit of lost relics and ancient secrets. Due to its nature as a dark mirror, the Shadowfell often contains twisted echoes of powerful artifacts or forgotten lore from the material plane. A legendary sword, thought lost to time, might have a shadowy, corrupted counterpart here, imbued with dark power. An ancient vault filled with forbidden knowledge might be replicated as a crumbling library of dusty tomes filled with chilling truths. These echoes are not mere facsimiles. They possess their own unique properties, often tied to despair or shadow magic, making them highly sought after by those who crave power regardless of its source. Scholars might seek the untouched archives of gloom-wrought for knowledge, long erased from their own world, or brave the ruins of forgotten Shadowfell reflections to uncover magical items warped by its essence. Another powerful draw is the desire to rescue lost souls or confront dark entities. Given the Shadowfell's strong connection to death and lingering spirits, it often becomes a prison for those who have died unjustly or whose souls have been trapped by powerful necromancers or vengeful spirits. A grieving family might seek to retrieve the essence of a loved one, misguidedly believing they can restore them, only to find a faded, desperate echo. Paladins and clerics, driven by righteousness, might venture into the gloom to confront powerful liches or wraithlords, hoping to free the countless souls they have enslaved. The risks are immense, for the Shadowfell's very nature tries to claim those who enter, making any rescue mission a race against the slow erosion of their own being. Sometimes the Shadowfell is simply the only path. Portals to other planes, forgotten magical gates, or crucial passages to dangerous dungeons might have their true secret entrance hidden within its depths. What appears as a simple cave system on the material plane might reveal a vast, treacherous subterranean network in its Shadowfell reflection, leading to a forgotten deity's tomb or an ancient demon's prison. For some, the Shadowfell is not a destination, but a necessary, terrifying corridor to reach their ultimate goal, a gauntlet that must be run through perpetual gloom. However, the allure of the Shadowfell comes with an insidious price. The dangers of prolonged stay are perhaps more insidious than any single monster or trap. We've spoken of the Shadowfell despair, the slow draining of vitality and hope. This is not a sudden affliction, but a gradual, soul-numbing process. Days turn into weeks, and the once vibrant adventurer might find themselves becoming withdrawn, silent, their eyes losing their spark, their movements growing slow and deliberate. Their once colorful clothing appears drab and faded, their weapons seem heavier, their spellcasting feels less potent. The plane actively works to transform living beings into something akin to itself, a melancholic, silent echo. The mental and physical toll is immense. Nightmares become commonplace, filled with shadowy figures and the echoes of past sorrows. Sleep offers little respite, often deepening the sense of fatigue rather than alleviating it. Food loses its taste, conversation its joy. Creativity, wit, and passion slowly bleed away, leaving behind a dull apathy. Those who linger too long risk becoming shadow-wrought, their bodies becoming pallid and gaunt, their minds clouded by the plane's despair, until they are irrevocably bound to the Shadowfell, indistinguishable from its native inhabitants, losing all memory of their former lives. Some even believe that the plane consumes the very essence of forgotten beings, allowing their lingering energy to feed its pervasive gloom, perhaps even forming new sorrows-worn. Returning from the Shadowfell is not simply a matter of walking back through a portal. The journey leaves an indelible mark. Physically, many return gaunt, pale, and seemingly aged beyond their years. Their skin might have a permanent grayish tint, their hair might have turned white, and their eyes may hold a haunting, distant quality. But the true challenge lies in the lingering mental and spiritual effects. The Shadowfell despair often doesn't simply vanish upon re-entering the material plane. Many who return struggle with profound depression, a pervasive apathy that makes it difficult to find joy in things they once cherished. The vibrant colors of the material plane can seem garish, its sounds too loud, its people too boisterous. They might feel a constant sense of coldness, both internal and external, unable to shake the chilling touch of the gloom. Flashbacks, paranoia, and a deep sense of existential weariness can plague them for years, or even for the rest of their lives. Some might develop a profound fatalism, believing that all efforts are ultimately futile, a belief that mirrors the Shadowfell's own bleak outlook. They carry a piece of the Shadowfell within them, a constant reminder of the darkness they endured. Healing magic can help restore physical vitality, but healing the wounds left on the soul by the Shadowfell is a far more complex and often lifelong endeavor, requiring compassion, patience, and a deep understanding of its lingering effects. Looking to the future, the Shadowfell's role in the multiverse seems eternally fixed, yet subtly dynamic. It remains the essential antithesis to the vibrant material plane, a constant reminder of entropy, loss, and the inevitable end of all things. It serves as a necessary counterpoint, a dark mirror without which the light might not be so brightly perceived. Conflicts within the Shadowfell are often subtle, wars of attrition fought between rival liches, clashes between the Raven Queen's Shadar Kai and rogue shadow creatures. or the perpetual expansion of one domain of dread at the expense of another. Its nature dictates that grand, sweeping changes are rare, but its insidious influence is ever present. There are theories, however, of potential shifts. If the collective despair of the material plane were to reach a critical mass, could the Shadowfell expand beyond its current boundaries, swallowing more of the prime world into its gloom? Could the Raven Queen, in her inscrutable wisdom, ever fully abandon her neutrality and actively shape the fates of mortals in a more direct way? Such possibilities are terrifying to contemplate, for the Shadowfell, though often passive in its malevolence, is a force of immense fundamental power. It is an eternal testament to the shadows that cling to every light and the silence that follows every song. And so, we conclude our exploration of the Shadowfell, the plane of shadow, the plane of gloom, the echo of despair. It is a realm of profound sorrow, where the very landscape whispers tales of loss, and every being carries the burden of its pervasive melancholy. It teaches us that even in the brightest of worlds, shadows persist, and that every life, no matter how vibrant, ultimately casts one. The Shadowfell serves as a chilling reminder of impermanence, of the beauty found in decay, and of the quiet, inevitable end that awaits all things. It is a place that draws the lost, the desperate, and the ambitious, offering them power or solace at a terrible price. Its cold embrace is a stark contrast to the warmth of life, yet it is an undeniable part of the cosmic tapestry, an essential counterpoint that gives meaning to the light. May your dreams tonight be of vibrant colors and joyous sounds, far removed from the chilling silence and eternal twilight of the Shadowfell. For even in sleep, we seek comfort, and this realm offers only the deepest, most profound repose of the soul.